Well, a good afternoon to everybody. I'm Huey Poplock, and this is the Central Florida Computer Society, the Windows Special Interest Group, or WinSIG, for Sunday, September 13th, 2020. How time flies when you're having fun. Anyway, we're here, and I'm glad you are. We have a nice crowd in the audience today, obviously virtually. We don't meet in a room for now. Maybe sometime soon you'll be back to having the Central Florida Computer Society meet uh, in a location, but as the rest of the world goes, and most user groups, we're not doing that. I am going to uh, mute everyone because somewhere I'm getting an echo. And that should have solved that. If you need to speak, you can either hold your space bar down and talk and then let it go when you're done talking. If that doesn't work, then you can just unmute yourself, and then please remute yourself when you're done speaking. We have several things to cover today. I do want to remind everyone, tomorrow is Ron Brown and Huey Poplock on Tech for Seniors, noon Eastern time, 9 Arizona time or Pacific time right now. And you have to be there by noon or you're going to get locked out. So we open the doors a half hour early. We do a chit chat, and then when it's ready to start the program, we do lock the doors. So please be in mind. And then also later this week, we will be starting the first of a monthly Learn Chromebooks session. It'll be Ron and I hosting that. That'll be Thursdays, the second Thursday of the month. Is it second Thursday, Ron? Anyway, it's this Thursday. I don't know if that's the second or the third Thursday, but it's the 17th, I believe it is, at 2 o'clock Eastern time. It'll be an hour program all about Chromebooks. So you're invited to, you do have to register for it. And in the newsletter for the Tech for Seniors and in the WinSIG newsletter, and also in the CFCS Tech SIG, I believe I put the link for you to sign up for that. I do want to tell you that there's a newsletter for the Tech for Seniors that we're going to be sending out Thursdays and Sundays. Thursdays will be, there'll be some articles in there, but it'll also be a reminder of the Sunday meeting. And then the Tuesday newsletter will be a link to the video of the Monday program and some information and a couple of articles in that as well. I am going to merge the list for the WinSIG newsletter with that. And if you decide you do not want to stay on either or both of those, you can unsubscribe at the bottom of those newsletters. Hopefully you'll want to read both of them. Please read them all the way down to the bottom. We do put a lot of information in them. We work hard to make sure it's information that will help you or interest you. And it's usually more than one screen. So please don't treat it like your other emails where you look at the first screen and that's it. Please scroll down and read the rest of it. With that note, I do want to start today's meeting. And by sharing my screen, whoops, I can't do that. Got to remember which buttons to push here. And we'll do here and share. And we're going to go, I did want you to see this. I am going to the huey.net website, and I am going to go to the WinSIG section, the meeting notes for 2020. When I click that, it shows all the dates, and today's date is here, and that's what I'm working from. I'm going to make this a little bit larger for you so you can see that. And these are the articles and items that I want to talk about today and we're going to cover. And you can go to the website and click on each of the articles and look and go over the material if there is something in there that you missed or that you want some more help with. You'll be able to get the information. So the first item that I wanted to cover today was how to create a shutdown button for Windows 8 or Windows 10. What I want to show you on my screen is, and I think you should be able to see this, is see that right there? There is a shutdown button. I'm not going to click it because if I do, my computer shuts down without any intervention, without any asking anything. It just shuts down. And then I'm bye-bye and there's no more meeting. So I'm not going to do that. But how did I create that button? That's what I'm going to show you. So what we're going to do is, whoops, I thought I shut that off and I didn't. There we go. So what you need to do is create a shortcut and then type something in that shortcut on your desktop. This article tells you what to do. First, you could create a shortcut, then you put down the shutdown and then these little items that kind of tells Shutdown what it needs to do and how to do it. You give it a title and then you give it an icon and you're ready to go. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look at it, but I want to go to the next article first. Whoops, what did I do here? And that's creating a shutdown or reboot, because this tells you what you should put in it. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to do shutdown, and I did a slash, but you can do a minus sign without the quotes. So you're going to do that. So I'm going to do a Control-C, and that copies it. And now what I am going, and it explains here, and I'll talk a little bit more about that after we do it. But what I do is I'll go to my desktop, and I'll do a new shortcut. And where is the location of this? What you do there is you paste what I just did. Shutdown -S -T 00, and there's spaces between them. And then I go to next, and I'm going to say, we'll call this test shutdown. And then I finish. That's it. It's right here. Now I'm going to right mouse click it. I'm going to go down to properties and see where it says change icon. Well, wait a minute. It says there's no icon for this. And then when I say OK, it opens up my icons. Sometimes you have to go find this file. Other times, there's other ways in which you can add icons. I happen to use this one sometimes. There are other ones that are available. As you can see, you can make it anything you want. And let's just choose one that might give me an idea of what it is. There's a key. So we'll choose that. And so and we say apply it and say OK. And now we're ready. If I click that, it's going to do the same. It's going to shut down my computer, so I'm not going to do it. Actually, I'm going to delete it so I don't forget about it. But that's how easy it is to do what I'm talking about. And that is to create the shutdown shortcut. Now, there's several things that you can do. You can do shutdown, you can do a reboot, or you can do a log off, and there are different parameters, and that's what these letters are, the S and the T. An L means log off the current user. This is also the default. The -S shuts down the local computer, and that's what we used. Hang on, please. Um, I'm sorry I had to run for a moment. The R reboots after shutdown. So if you want to force a reboot, instead of doing the S, you do an R, and then A aborts shutdown, ignores other parameters except the L. So there's some different things that you can put in there. The T, I don't recall what the T is, and it doesn't show it there. But oh, that's a timer. Is you do if you put a minus T, that's a timer, and then how many seconds. So you can tell it 10 seconds. So after you click the button, it will take about 10 seconds, and then it'll do the shutdown. I have it on my screen, so at night when I want to shut down, I don't have to go anywhere. I go to that button, I click it, and bingo, it shuts down. Okay. And then how do you check shutdown and startup log? There's actually a log that's kept in your Windows. And I want to move this out of the way. Stop. Hide video panel. There we go. And those pictures should have disappeared from the front. So how to check the shutdown and startup log. This gets a little complicated. Do you need to know how to do this, or what it's telling you? If you're a little bit more advanced user, you might be interested in this. If you're, I turn on the computer and hope it starts, and then I do what I do, and then I shut it off and hope it shuts off properly. You don't need to know this. So just kind of be aware of it, and that it's there if somebody ever says, well, let's look at your event viewer and see if you're having problems. This is what some of the people who get on your computer and tell you that you might have a problem. Let's see if you do. Well, they'll go to your event viewer and find things that normally there are issues with a computer at all times. So they can find things, make it look really bad for you. So don't let people in your computer that you don't know, especially if they're trying to fix it and you don't know who they are, like we were talking about prior to the meeting. Anyway, the event viewer is something that you can bring up. There are several ways to get it. And how to use the event viewer. You can create a custom view. You can see events from different event logs and so on. The article goes on and it tells you how do you find the shutdown log in Windows 10. Again, there's various ways to do that. Let's kind of see one of the ways. You can open up run dialog box and do it this way, or you can just type in event viewer and then click it, and there it is. Now it says once you're running it, you want to go to System, Logs, System, Windows Logs, and then you want to go to System, and we're there. And let's see. And I double clicked it, and I'm not sure if that's where I wanted to go or not. So let's go back. Let's follow the directions. Okay, in the event viewer, go to System, and then in the right pane, let me move this out of the way. And in the right pane, we want to go to Filter Current Log. So we're going to go, let's see, Create Custom Import. From the left pane, from the right, click on the Filter Current Log link. Oh, we got to go to System. There we go. No. I got ahead of myself here. His system's here. There we go. Filter current log. And then we need to copy this, Control C, and then it says, type it in here, and then say OK. And now let's see. And you said, OK, the event viewer shows detailed information. Well, let's full screen this. Make this, bring this down a little bit. You can see that I shut off the computer last night around 12:30, and the night before around 11 o'clock, the night before about 10 o'clock. You can see what times it was shut off. And you don't see any problems here noticed. It just gives me the times. And if I move down, way down, I still don't see anything in red or yellow or there were any issues. So that looks good to me. So now it also says, see the latest shutdown time using the command prompt. And let's do that. If you do use the command prompt, you just type in command, start to type in command, and there it is, command prompt. And then what we want to do is move this a little bit. We want to take this, and we're going to just copy all of that. I don't want to type it because, boy, there's a lot of ways to make mistakes there. So I'll copy that, and then I'll paste it right there, and then I'll hit enter. And it tells me user 32, tells me some information. It tells me the desktop, and it was Huey, it was the username, was me. And it tells me has initiated shutdown of the computer on behalf of the user, and following reason, no title for this reason could be found. And it was just a shutdown. Now, going down further in this article, it said, okay, to get the timestamp for that, we copy all of this. And then come down here and paste that. And it tells me that on the 9th, I'm sorry, September 13th, which was today, a little after midnight, so it was 00:30 minutes and 48 seconds, and so on. That's when it was shut down. So it was at 12:30 that I shut down. So it gives me the date and the time that it was last shut down. What good this information is, I have no clue. I don't really need it. If I want to know, well, what time did I turn off the computer last night, I could do that. But other than that, I'm not sure that it really has a use or not. But I'm going to stop share for a moment. And let's see, does anybody have any comments, questions about what I just talked about?
Huey, sometimes if you're troubleshooting a problem of something shutting down on its own, it might be good to look at that log. That's the only reason I could think of to look at that log.
Yeah, but it is, you need to be aware that it's there. And sometimes in those any of the logs, it tells everything your computer is doing. And this is what the bad guys do when they come in and they look at your computer, say, oh, you had a virus and call this number right away. And then they get into your computer. One of the first things they do is they open up the logs and then find some of the logs where things normally go wrong. And it gives you some warnings. And they'll make it sound really bad that your computer has a lot wrong with it. And it's going to cost you $140 for them to fix it online. Mike, you have a comment.
This is exactly what I'm working on today, Huey, as I mentioned before the meeting started. And exactly what they did, they showed him his event log and he said, oh my God, how'd all those errors get on my computer? And they said, your computer's been hacked.
And yeah, and they were in the process of doing so.
That's correct.
Okay, any other comments or questions from anybody? Again, it's not stuff that you really need to go in and look at. For those of you who don't quite understand what we're talking about, don't do it. But if you do, at least you're aware of that it can be done and you can take a look at it. Okay, let's
Just
see.
have a a comment. I run Windows 7 still on my computer, and I like to just put it to sleep. Do you ever, would you recommend that with Windows 10 or not?
I don't recommend it with any of them. And the only reason why is when it goes to sleep, it's putting some data on your hard drive. So it boots up, so it starts up with all that information there. If something happens and that gets corrupted or something happens to your drive, you may end up not, you may have difficulty getting into your computer or into other things. If you're going to shut down, try to clean it up so it boots quicker as opposed to using the sleep mode has been my advice. But I know a lot of you, and I see Tom's got his hand up, a lot of you use that feature and don't have any problems, have never had any problem. Tom?
Do you have a comment between shutting down in the evening and just leaving it running full time? Which is what I do.
Yeah, I used to always just leave it on. Sometimes I'd turn the monitors off, but I even stopped doing that. I shut down only because the computer has two screens and it's in our bedroom and it's awful bright. So I turn it down so we can sleep at night. And the other thing is, even with it shut down, Robin says the bedroom looks like a airport runway with all the little red and green and blue lights that are around on the pieces of equipment. So,
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But I'm one of those people, probably the only one in the room, that lets my computer run continuously. And this machine is 14 years old. And the logic is that when does a light bulb burn out?
Yeah.
When you turn it on.
Yep.
If the different problems that we have, many of them concern boot up. I do turn off my monitor, my keyboard, my mouse, and except for where I have no control or we've lost power or when I've gone on vacation, yes, I turn it off. But other than that, it runs.
And being in the land of lightning here in Florida, having a UPS is important if you're going to leave, especially if you're going to leave it on, because we get a lot of flickers and lights go off, come back on, and it's probably best to have a UPS to hold it up in those circumstances. Of course, if there's a hurricane, you need to shut it all down, including the UPS. Eventually, that battery will go dead, and then everything will shut down anyway. And it's not a clean shutdown when that happens. It's like pulling the plug, and not a good thing to do. Probably won't hurt anything, but it might. Any other comments, questions about that? Okay.
Another thing to consider is that when you shut it down and then restart it, everything is nice and fresh. So if there are any problems on the computer,
that's one of the items we're going to talk about here coming up. So that's a good point, Dick. Absolutely. Somebody was trying to get in. I hope he got in. Have we got anybody waiting out there?
Hey, Huey?
Yes.
Yeah, as far as putting it to sleep or hibernation, I tell all our members not to do that because, well, I've had a couple of them that have gone to sleep and don't like to wake up.
Yep.
And I've had one in hibernate mode. I just had it the other day. Went into hibernation and did not want to wake up, and I had to convince it to wake up. And that's a good trip to the repairman for several hours to get that to run again.
Yeah, so that's why I don't generally recommend it. 99 out of 100 times it won't be an issue, but boy, if it's an issue, it's an issue.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let me go back to sharing. And let's see, check the shutdown and log. And let's see. Let's jump down to this. Why does restarting your Windows 10 PC fix so many problems? and then we'll come back because it kind of fits in here. But first of all, this article is one of a few this month that I'm using from the Windows Club. And I do want to show you something in this article before we go any further that, whoops, that you have to be careful of when you're reading articles, and that is right here. That's an ad. Don't do it. First of all, you don't know what the program is, and two, I don't know if it's any good. So I'm not recommending that by any means. What I'm warning you is don't click on those kind of things because they're ads. They may or may not be paid for to the host of the website. They may just subscribe to Google ads or something else, and these ads appear, and if somebody clicks on them, they might get some monetization from it. But that doesn't mean they're recommending the program, nor does it mean that it's any good. So please be careful of that. Anyway, the easiest way to fix most problems in a Windows 10 PC is to restart the PC. It's also the first question asked by any person who you seek technical help from. Have you tried restarting the PC once? Have you ever wondered why restarting a Windows 10 computer can fix a lot of the problems that not even built-in troubleshooters or expert can fix in that short period? In this post, we'll walk you through some of the facts of why restarting PC fixes most of the problems. Any operating system does a phenomenal job when it starts or reboots. Well, these days, it only takes 5 to 10 seconds for a computer to boot, but in that short time, a lot of things happen. So it's not just about Windows, it's the same with Mac OS, Linux, smartphones, smartwatches, and even routers. But let's talk about Windows here. So how does a computer restart help? Number one, it clears the RAM. Let me make this bigger. Okay, it's not working. We'll try it again. There we go. I'll close this ad up. Okay, it clears the RAM. Number two, it restarts crashed or overloaded processes. It also fixes any memory leaks. Hardware stops because it doesn't know what to do, and there may be some graphics issues. In the end, restarting the computer clears the current state of the computer and software which were causing the problem. Restarting can even help solve the internet or network problems. When it restarts, everything starts fresh and things look just fine. However, be aware that if it is a problem that happens often, you may have to look for a permanent solution. And we'll talk about each of those. Remember, we're talking about restarting, not shutting off your computer and then turning your computer back on. A lot of times people, and I read an article about this just recently, that shutting off your computer and turning it back on doesn't do the same thing as hitting the restart the computer. Shutting off your computer and then turning it back on doesn't clear some of the things that you may want to clear. In other words, it's not really a cold boot. The cold boot is only if you restart your computer. Okay, clears RAM. A lot of things are stored in the physical RAM and the paged memory of a hard disk. A lot of footprints and background processes keep running, and as it gets full, the system gets slow, ultimately running out of fuel. Sometimes we have opened so many things that not much is left to even a regular function. Even if you manage to close some of the applications, chances are things are still running in the background that can keep accumulating and results in a memory leak. Restarting clears RAM and gives you a fresh, air to breathe. 2, restarts crashed or overloaded processes. Sometimes a process may crash or end up using excessive resources, and this can cause a program or driver to crash or freeze. While restarting the program may help, restarting the PC in most cases works out to be the easiest option. And what about memory leaks? Poorly coded programs can cause memory leaks, making programs on your system suffer. Restarting makes your PC start with a clean slate. I can remember many years ago, Word and the Microsoft, a lot of the Microsoft products, especially Word, had a lot of memory leak. And if you ran it leaks, if you ran it for a long period of time, eventually you'd run out of memory because it would keep adding to information and filling it up. So doing the restart clears all that out of memory. I'm sure that Word and other Microsoft products now have fixed those problems, but some programs don't or have not. The hardware has stopped because it doesn't know what to do next. That's a typical Windows issue where you get a BSOD, blue screen of death. When Windows doesn't know where to go next, when it gets into a problem, it just stops. It can restart or reload the driver because the hardware is at a low level, because the hardware is at a low level, is stuck. When the system reboots, it loads up everything from scratch. It also clears out any old data in memory as if nothing happened. The system will create a log for diagnosis and send it to Microsoft servers for check. Graphics can take a toll on the system. This was the reason I ended up getting a new computer, is because I was having a lot of issues because of graphics. Suppose you were running high-end games and tools which put a lot of pressure on the GPU. That's the graphics processor unit. Something similar to what happens with RAM, but more of a heating issue which slows down the system. If you're trying to push the limit, it will ultimately result in a blue screen of death. This is from the author now. It says, on one of my PCs, I have an old GPU and streaming a video causes things to freeze. The only option is to close the streaming and restart. I sometimes have to stop streaming for a while so it may cool off. Windows 10 has gotten better handling situations, and there are a lot less crashes than before. And this is one of the reasons, if you have a lot of crashes in 7, that you may not have them in 10. Sometimes restarting a service or process can resolve the problem, but for that, one has to know which service or process it is. It's that reason many still prefer to restart than troubleshooting the problem. And if a restart does not solve the problem, and if your PC gets a level of corruption that can only be fixed by replacing the system files, the simple restart will never help. And in most cases, one of these 5 universal fixes is sure to fix your Windows problem. And the author continues to go on, I hope the post was able to help you understand why restart can fix a lot of problems. I'm sure there are many, and if you know one such reason, do let him know. Okay, so again, let's stop the share, see if there's any comments on that. Because that kind of fits in what we were talking about. Restarting, I think, as opposed to putting your computer to sleep or to hibernate, does clear it all out to make your day fresh when you start the next day. Yeah, and like Marshall was saying, he leaves his on all the time. Well, every once in a while, it really is a good thing that you really should do a restart. Just do a restart. It doesn't mean you have to shut it down for the night, but you should do a restart on occasion.
Huey, one of the things that I found was that in Windows 7, it actually does shut down the computer and restart it. But in 10, it doesn't. 10 has what they call a fast reboot. So it reboots faster with Windows 10 than it does in 7 because 7 does shut it down.
Yep, good point.
I should mention the fact that, yes, I leave it run, but I reboot a minimum of twice a week. And that's after because I back up twice a week. So after I back up, I reboot.
Good.
You
Okay.
can change that fast restart or fast shutdown and restart. It can.
Any other comments?
Know that, Mike. I put mine generally like Marshall. I just let it run. I have the discs in mine are the old safety discs that shut down when you're not using them, so they're not instant data and so I really, like as Huey said, when does the light bulb burn out? When it starts up. So my disk actually shut down, except of course for the memory disk, but it's a good point to shut it down once a week. But I didn't know you could do that. Have you done it, Mike?
Mike's still with us? Yeah. Here he comes.
Working away on this other computer. What was the question, Ken? And now Ken's muted.
Ken, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I thought I did. Okay. Have you actually done that, Mike?
What was the question? What have I done?
Kill the fast reboot process.
No. I do a full shutdown if I actually want it to shut down. But either you or one other I heard out of the corner of my ear said that when there's been updates and Windows 10 restarts, that actually during that process it is a full shutdown. And there's an article that I've posted in the past to the TechSig. Maybe even beyond the BBS, I'll have to go back and look, that talks about the different shutdowns and whether they're full shutdowns or they're hybrid shutdowns. And when Huey showed the shutdown command, there's a hybrid extension. I think it's -H or /H. So you can either force it to do hybrid or non-hybrid. I don't remember which direction it is when you include that.
Okay, that's interesting. I'll investigate that one.
I'll see if I can find that article and post it.
Good.
Thank you.
Any other comments before we go on? Okay, let's go back here and pick up from where we were up here. Shut down the log. Check to see if a user account. I had an occasion to help somebody remotely, and he was having an issue. He had somebody come into his home and try to fix some issues with his computer, mostly the fact that it had gotten really slow on him. So what the guy did was just create a new user and made it the same, basically the same name. Instead of his first and last name, it has his first name. Now he has no clue which one's which, and we didn't know which one was the administrator, and I just happened to come across this article. And so for that reason, how to check if a user account is an administrator in Windows 10. And again, notice the ad that's there. There's a standard there is a standard work and school child guest and administrator account feature in Windows 10, which is pretty good. You can usually create a new user account in Windows 10 and add another and add other accounts at any time. We need an administrator account to run things that need elevated privileges. And one thing I hate is when I'm an administrator an account and it says, you can't do that. Anyway, in that case, we have to check which account is an administrator. This tutorial will help you how to do that. So how to check if you have administrative rights or admin rights on Windows 10. There's 4 built-in ways, I'm only going to talk about this using the setups app. If you're interested in other ways, you can read the article. But using the setups app, the modern settings app of Windows 10 lets you access numerous options related to personalization, devices, and so on. For this reason, opening up settings app of Windows 10, the quickest way is open the app, and then after opening it, go to the accounts section, and then let's do that. So we're gonna not do what they tell us to do. I'm gonna do it this way, and I'm gonna go to accounts. And notice right underneath my name, it says I'm the administrator, and actually family and other users, no, your info, I don't want to do that. Well, that's where I was. And then accounts used by this, but I don't have any other users on my computer, but I could add other user accounts, and I probably will for some demonstrations that I'm going to be doing in a couple of cases. There's a video that I want to do, and I don't want it to know that I already have a paid Microsoft account. And so I am going to create this other user and then use that account to be able to record and do some editing. So that's how you find out if you're an administrator or not. Then there's using the PowerShell, using the old control panel, and the fourth way was using local users and groups. How to pin a folder or drive to the taskbar in Windows 10. How are we doing for time? I want to look at the time here. Okay, how to pin a folder or drive to the taskbar in Windows 10. Windows 10 by default allows all apps to pin to the taskbar. Pinning a program to the taskbar is easy in Windows 10. Simply right-click on any app in the Start menu and choose Pin to Taskbar. Or you can directly drag and drop any application shortcut to the taskbar. But pinning any drive or folder to the taskbar is not an option. And this post will guide you as to how to do that. So let's say I want down here on my taskbar, and I hope you can see that, but you can see somebody else's here. I want to pin a folder. Well, before we jump right into a little background, Windows 10 pinning program to the taskbar is a handy and way to access that particular application or program easily. It acts as a shortcut, and it's better than a shortcut. It's very handy to access any application easily without searching or scrolling through the apps list. The default location of pinned to taskbar folder is indicated below. So this is where that taskbar information is stored. And you can go into it, you can change things in the registry. Don't do it unless you really know what you're doing. I don't even go into the registry and do things. But to pin a folder or a drive to the taskbar in Windows 10, here's the instructions. I'm going to move this over a little bit so I can see these, and you can and do it at the same time. First, choose any folder. Well, let's take a folder. I've got a folder right here. Okay, and well, let's not take that one. Let's take one I'm going to be using here. Let's take this right here. So I have a folder that I want. So right click on the selected folder. Well, this would be if it was somewhere else. So let's go somewhere else just to do it the right way. We're going to go here, and we're going to okay, so I have information on today's meeting. So I'm going to right mouse click that, and it's saying go to properties, and no, it says, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's cancel that. It says right mouse click it and send access to, where does it say? send to, and then we want to send it to the desktop or create a shortcut. So I'm going to click that, and it just did. So it's up there. So I'm going to just, whoops, I'm going to close this. So it's here. I'm going to move it down here just so you can see it easily. And then I'm going to right mouse click on that and go to properties. And then where it says target, I need to go all the way to the beginning of that. So I click inside, notice it was highlighted. So now I'm inside of it and I've got to go all the way to the beginning. So I'm going to do that with my keyboard and I'm going to go to the beginning. And then it says to type in EXPLORER space. That space is important. And then go ahead and apply it and say okay. So it's there now. Next, click on the shortcut tab. Okay, and we just did that. Particular drive shortcut will now appear like a file folder icon. So if I click here, and then close it again, now you'll see it changed the way it looks. It went from a folder looking to a file explorer icon. Now you can directly drag that to the taskbar. I can drag it down to the taskbar and pin it, and it's now pinned down here on the taskbar. So if I want to click it now, one click from the taskbar and it opens it up. And that's it. After changing the folder icon, you can right click on it and drag it, and that's just what I just did. And I can also change the change this, or I can unpin it. There's the shortcut, but I can also unpin it from the taskbar if I wanted to as well. I think that's a good trick and a good thing to use. The reason something's on the taskbar rather than on your desktop, number one, it keeps your desktop fairly clean. The other thing is that anything that's in the taskbar is a single click. If it's on your desktop, it's a double click. Big deal, you might say, but it is. So if you want to open something really quickly, I want to open up WordPad, I just click here and it's there, one click and it's there. I don't happen to have it on my desktop, so otherwise I would have to go and then find it in all of my programs, and as you can see, I would have to go searching and find it, and it might take a while. Where if it's on my taskbar, I keep WordPad and Notepad both on my taskbar to be able to open it very quickly. Oh, I closed my Google. When I did that, all of my tabs went away. I don't like that in Chrome, in the Chrome browser. In Firefox, when I click on closing the Firefox, it says, oh, you have a lot of tabs open. Do you want to, or do you really want to close it? And I don't. And I think I've mentioned this before, but if you do a Control-Shift-T once you open up your Chrome browser again, watch what happens. Control and Shift and then T. Well, I got to come in here first. Control, Shift, and T. And it's not working now. Wouldn't you know it? Close it. Control, Shift, T. Why isn't it working? Because I want to tell you about this.
Is Google open right now?
No, it isn't, but let me open it again and do it. Well, I guess I wiped it, but usually Control Shift T will open up all of the tabs you had open. We'll just come back to it here. But I wanted to show off and it didn't work. Okay, the next item is what's an RTF file format and how do you open them? If you've been around computers for quite a while, you may have come across a file that has RTF as the extension. If you use Office Libre or Office, what's the other one? Open Office. Most likely when you save a document file, it saves it as an RTF file. If you use in Windows, if you use WordPad, when you go to save a WordPad file, one of the default is RTF, or rich text format. Back when there were, Microsoft had a program that was kind of a combination. It was like an Office Lite, and I can't remember what it was called now. But it saved the documents as an RTF file. RTF is an easy way to move files from one device to another, or from one program to another, because it's been around a long time. And if something is a rich text format, usually the word processing programs can open it. So I did this file in WordPad. When I saved it, it saved as an RTF file. However, I have my computer set that when it sees an RTF file, it automatically opens it up in Word. So you'll see that it opened it up in Word. But in Word, like in any of the other programs like OpenOffice, LibreOffice, on the Mac, their word processing program, you can save as, and you can choose how you want to save that file. So I could save it as a Word document, but I do have the choice of saving it as an RTF file. Now, what does RTF do? Well, one of the things it does is, you saw when I opened it up in Word, it saves the formatting. I've got bold, I have some color, and it saves it, and it keeps all of the formatting. It doesn't do an extensive formatting, but it does a lot of it. And so it's an easy way, it's a better way than using Notepad to move formatted information back and forth. If you just want this information, then what I do, and you don't want it formatted, I do a Control-C, or I say under, let's see, I'll say select all, and I got to remember how to do that. Well, I'll just highlight all of it, tell it to copy, and then I'm going to open up Notepad. And Notepad, and it did it on my other monitor, so I got to move it over here. And let's make it just a little bit smaller so you can see both. Notepad is a text editor. It doesn't do any formatting, or if you do any formatting, everything is going to be that same format. So when I paste into that, what I just copied, and I paste, all the formatting's gone, but the information is there. So if you ever need to very quickly clear up a lot of formatting, that's one way to do it. Take it from your Word document or an RTF file or whatever it's in, just drop it into Notepad, and then copy it again back into whatever you wanted with all of the formatting gone. Now in Notepad, the only formatting you can do is word wrap, and then font, you can change a font. So if you wanted it all to be, when you do it, it changes the whole thing. You can't make a certain thing bold or a certain thing something else. So if I'm going to go back to, let's see, I don't even remember what it'll remember what I last had it as. So I like to just get it back to normal here. And again, it's untitled, so I'm going to not save it, and I'll close this up. So RTF is an interesting way to save a file and to move it from one machine to another, for one program to another. Folder drive, taskbar, and restarting. We talked about 5 universal fixes to solve most issues. And how are we doing on time? I'm not going to go through a lot of this. These are some universal fixes. Windows 10 support and solutions. Most Windows problems can be solved by carrying out the following: run a system file checker, replace corrupted files with goof ones, good ones, I think that's supposed to say. Their spell checker didn't catch that one because goof is a word. Run DISM to repair corrupted Windows systems image, re-register. So this gets quite complicated. This is where you are going to have somebody who knows what they're doing if you're running into problems with your computer. And but it's a good article to go through and take a look at. I thought I did want to show you something else again. You know what? I did it here. Now I'm going to try it again. Control Shift T. Why isn't it working? I'm not sure. It should be working, and it's not. Maybe it's Control Alt T. Nope. Anyway, I have to figure that one out later. So we're back here, WinSIG, and 13. I thought you might get a kick out of this, and that is 6 free online tools to combine photos together. Let's full screen this. And the first one's called Pine Tools. Now, what are we talking about when we're talking about combining photos together? And why would you want to do that? Well, sometimes when I post something on Facebook, for instance, or I'm doing an article and I only want to put one picture and I want it to show a before and after. I want it to show a couple of, take 2 pictures out of a series of things that went on during an event, something like that. So let's take a look at what we can do, and I'll show you. So Pine Tools was the first one that was listed here, and actually I like it. It's a pretty good program. It's online. You do it online, and in several of these photo programs that I've been discovering and sharing with in various groups are online services, and they're free. So the first time what you do is, let me go ahead and make it so it's not full screen so we can see where I put some files. I've got some files here. I'm going to open that, and I'm going to just make that a little bit smaller and move it over. And I hope you can see that you can, anytime you have windows, you can resize them, move them around so that you can do what I'm doing, where you can show things. Don't forget to do that. That's why it's called windows. You have different windows and you can do different things for them. So let's take 2 pictures. We're going to combine them. First image, we go ahead and we choose the first image. I'm going to grab this one and I'm going to say open, and notice it put the name of the file here and it shows a picture. And then over here a little bit further, let me get this, let me bring it over so I can get the whole thing on the screen. And then it wants the second image. I'm going to choose that file, and I'm going to choose this one I liked, but it wasn't as clear, so I'm going to go ahead and take this one. And there's the second picture. Now I can position them either horizontally or vertically. Horizontally means side by side, vertically is one over the other. I'm going to leave it horizontally. How to adjust the size of the image? Well, there's some things we can do. Don't adjust them at all. Magnify the smallest, in other words, make the smallest as big as the bigger one, or reduce the biggest, or crop the biggest. The difference between the crop the biggest, it means to get it to size, you're going to cut parts of it out, or if you're the reduce the biggest, just means bring it down in size. We're going to reduce the biggest on this. Constrain the proportions to keep the picture in the same proportion that it's in. And then we can put a border on it. So let's go ahead and say, yeah, okay, let's put a border of about 20. And what color do we want that border to be? Let's make it red. And then tell it to merge. And bingo, there's the picture And we're going to save it as a JPEG. We can save it as a PNG, a JPEG, or a WEP, or WebP. So we'll do it as a JPEG. It downloads it to me. I open it, and there it is one picture. And with the red frame around it. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, there's some times where you want to just upload one picture, or you want to compare something. Oops, I just hit a button here. So this is one way to do it. Now, this is one of the programs, and I like this. This is called pinetools.com. So let's go back to the article and find the next one. This is Image Online. And you have to scroll down to find it. I had to look a little bit. And it says, okay, choose the file. Let's use the same two files. Choose file 1. We'll choose that one. Choose file 2. And we'll choose that one. Now, what else can we do? We can merge them. Let's see what our choices are. We're going to merge them horizontally or vertically. We can rotate the pictures. I'm going to show you an example of why you would do that in just a moment. You can trim the pictures. You can mirror the reflection. I'm not rotating because that would be rotating if one was up and down, the other one was sideways. But the mirror reflection is what I'm going to show you. Size optimization for each picture. You can make them smaller, bigger, so on. And then do you want a JPEG and what kind of quality? And do you want the information that goes with the pictures and the other metadata on the first picture? And I just said no. So when we say okay, I can open the processed image, and there it is. Very similar to the other one, except it doesn't have the border. I'm not sure whether it has the ability to do the border. Okay, I want to go back to that one again. I closed it. Okay, now I'm going to try something a little bit different because I want to show you something. So I have a couple of pictures of my brother and me. Actually, I have 3 pictures of that. So choose the file, and we're going to take our baby picture and open it. And I'm going to take us as teens and open it and say, okay. And I'm going to merge the 2 pictures horizontally, and automatically we're going to just keep it all the same, standard JPEG, and I'm going to say okay. And I'm going to download the image, and I'm going to show in the folder because I want to do that. And then I'm going to bring that over here. Okay, so I'm going to close this now because there's a reason for my madness, folks. Bear with me. So I am going to open this, and there is that picture, the 2 pictures side by side. My brother and I as babies, or I was the baby. He was a little bit older than me, 5 years. And here we are as teenagers. Now, I want a 3rd picture on here, and these programs don't give us the ability to do that. So what one of the articles mentioned was, well, then what you do is what I just did. You take 2 of them, make 1 picture out of it, then add the 3rd. So let's go ahead and go back. And what we're going to do is choose the first picture. And instead of choosing the baby picture, I'm going to do the combination picture. And I'm going to say this. And then choose the second picture. And I'm going to take us as adults. And I'm going to say that. I'm going to leave everything the same. And I'm going to take a look at it. And I'm going to open the process. I'm not going to download it yet. I'm going to look at it. Really looks good. I probably should have cropped the picture, but we'll just leave it as such. There's my brother and I. Uh-oh, there's I and my brother. Me and my brother, actually, if I want to be grammatically correct. But we're not the same, we're not, in the same position. Well, how do you do that? Well, let's go back. And we're going to go back. And remember, I mentioned down here, the mirror image. We're going to change the mirror reflection on the second one, and we're going to say yes. And then we're going to say okay. And now, whoops, image result. It should have worked. And
You gotta choose a file.
Oh, yep, that's what happened. I just thought it would stay there and I didn't do that. Thank you. So we're going to choose this one and choose this one. And then we're going to we're not going to rotate that. What we're going to do is we're going to mirror the reflection there. Now we're going to click OK. And now we're going to open the processed image. Now it's my brother and I, my brother and I, and my brother and I. Just don't look at the stop sign in the back. It's backwards. If you don't notice that, you wouldn't realize that I had done that. But it is a good way to very quickly and easily, let's see, I want to Control minus, and there it is. And actually what I did is I took these 3 pictures and I put them in a frame and I gave it to my brother as a frame showing the 2 of us in three different parts of our lives. So it's something you do very easily and very quickly and look like you're a hero to somebody in your family or to whoever. So again, that's from the image online. I'm not going to do this one. Was it this one? Yeah, it was the photo funny. I tried to play with it, and it does. It's trying to. Well, let's open it. So I try to play with it a little bit. It doesn't handle the pictures quite as well, but you can make some interesting frames and some funny things and so on with your pictures. You can play around with it and do some things with it. So when you don't have anything to do in these days, when you're trying not to go out and be with other people, and you want to stay at home and do something, here's something that you can play with on your computer at home.
Huey?
Yes.
You can also use the collage function in Google Photos.
Yeah, there's a lot of collage programs too. I use one from Microsoft from, I think it's 2008, and it still works, and I love it because it does a really neat job. I don't have anything handy to play with to show it to you. I can do that at another time. I'm sure I've shown it in one of these meetings as well. But it's just a couple of programs that you got a lot of pictures. You might as well play with them and do some things with them that can be interesting family gems at a meeting, or email it to your family and so on. So on those notes,
as a point of interest with your work on that, all of my family members have Gmail. They all have Google Drive. And rather than argue about who's going to get what photo, they each get a copy.
Yeah, and there's some Jim and Chris Gould in the Geeks on Tour. They're doing a lot with Google Photos, and last week they showed how to create albums that everybody can contribute, and you all put your pictures in there and grow the album, and you're all sharing the same pictures. So there's a way to do that. If you're not familiar with it, go to Geeks on Tour and watch their video they did last Sunday on their program on how to do that. It was very well done, and it's an interesting way to share your photos without having to pass the photos around to everybody, and for each of them to have different groups of them and so on. You have one big album that you share all of the family as their pictures as they take them. And you make you make big albums and sub albums and so on.
Huey?
Yes.
One more comment. The RTF file that you shared, that should be join us, not join is.
Okay, thank you.
Got a typo.
I copied and pasted it from somewhere.
And the
if Ron's still on, and I don't think he is, we'll have to let him know.
And the old time word processor that you were thinking about was Microsoft Works.
Yes, Microsoft Works, and they save the word processing, I believe, as RTF files. And I knew a lot of people who said, "What do I do with all of these old files?" Actually, it saved them in a WKS file.
Right.
And
No, that was WPS.
okay, you could save them, but you could also save them as a RTF file, and that was what I suggested people do if they were moving up or changing computers. They weren't going to be using Works anymore, to convert all of them to RTF files, and then within Works, and then they'd be able to use them using Word or any of the other word processors that
Excellent
are out
plan.
there. Okay. Any other comments, questions? I am going to just close out with this, and hang on one second. Don't run away, because we still have more. But what I want to do is, come on, just have to remember what I'm doing here.
Check the chat, please.
Okay. I just want to let you know that this is the Central Florida Computer Society, has been for September 13th, 2020, Sunday. And I am going to stop the recording as soon as I can, and then I will check the chat box.